Oh, hey Archons. I'm just admiring my new Dark Tidings decks because this set is quite a bit of fun. I have had the privilege of getting to jam it a bunch on the day of release. I met out with my friend and we got to play some IRL Dark Tidings blind sealed KeyForge, only knowing the houses, which was a ton of fun. So I want to talk about that today. So we're going to kick things off with just going into my first impressions of Dark Tidings, what I'm liking, what I'm noticing, all that sort of fun stuff. And then I'm going to finish off the episode with the card of the week, which will be a Dark Tidings card. And let's just jump right on into it. So, Dark Tidings, the new set. First thing I want to talk about is the fact that it now comes in a foil pack instead of a cardboard box. I understand the reasoning behind this was that there was a concern that the boxes that you could open with the tabs, you could put a deck back in and seal it and pretend like it was never opened. Meanwhile, you were being bamboozled and a series of decks was open. The best ones were taken out. And then you were getting a second-hand deck, not a new one in that box, is what I heard is the actual reasoning, because obviously this isn't as environmentally friendly as the cardboard in terms of recycling. But I will say that these are pretty sweet. Like it's really awesome. The font of Dark Tidings I'm loving. Just everything about it is really cool. The next thing that exists on this, which is different, is that you see now the deck lists appear as they would be shown actually in the Master Vault if you're looking at it on a desktop. Obviously the mobile app shows it, you click house by house, but if you look at it on the desktop version of the Master Vault, your decks, you show that everything is listed like this, 3 rows side by side, which is really interesting. And of course, the other thing that is different on here is the addition of the type of card that each name represents. So you can see that there's creatures, upgrades, artifacts, and actions with the different symbols. You obviously have the, I guess you can tell which one's the creature one. It's pretty obvious. I don't know how to describe that symbol. Then you have a arrow that presents actions, and then you have a sword to represent artifacts. And I don't know if I have any, and then an upwards arrow to represent upgrades, which makes sense, an arrow pointing up. So I think that's pretty cool. The next thing that every deck has is a tide card, which represents high and low tide. And then on the back of that tide card are all of the different mechanics that exist within the deck and a description of what those mechanics do. This is, I think, a very smart thing to have this little quick reference to the different things. Obviously it feels redundant for seasoned players, but someone just coming into the game, this is a really great way of giving them information. And the fact that they are thinking about that, of how we can accommodate new players into the game and make sure there's a greater understanding of the mechanics and things, I think is a very smart move for the growth of the game. And I love that those considerations are being made, as well as I think his name's Danny. Oh my goodness, don't hate me. Danny, I think, said that this 38th card now is what this is being considered, is actually going to be used more, because there's always going to be a 38th card, and I guess this side of the card is now going to have different things. So I guess the tide will not exist in every single set that comes out. It's very much within Unfathomable at the moment, or not Unfathomable, with Dark Tidings at the moment. And speaking of the tide mechanic, wow, what a fun addition to the game. Something that alters the state of the game in such a way, and is done by gaining 3 change, which I think is the appropriate amount. 2 would have been too little, 4 would have been too much. 3 is the sweet spot of chains where it is a hindrance, but is not a detrimental hindrance. So I really like that that's how you can raise it without having any sort of card to make it happen. You have the choice of just doing it, and I think it creates a lot of interesting decisions with the tide, because there's some cards that your opponent may have that if the tide is switched, they get an advantage. So you may sometimes want to take an L on some tide effects to leave the tide on their side so they can't switch it. There's some cards that exist that when the tide is switched, there is a specific mechanic happens, like capturing, like Ember Control, things like that. There's a Sanctum card that does that. I don't think I have it in this deck, no. So when that happens, you may know, oh, I'm in check, but I'm only in check at 7. If that is available to be done where the tide can be switched, then that doesn't benefit me because they can just switch the tide and take me off check, which is, I think 3 chains for delaying a key is not the worst thing. I'm also very impressed with my willingness to just grab the tide and have that happen. And there's really cool symmetrical effects that have to do with the tide, so your opponent has cards that have the tide. So even if you're playing a non-Dark Tidings deck, you can basically flip the tide and gain the benefits of these global effects that exist with the tide switching. As I experienced the other night, I was playing a Dark Tidings deck, but oh no, I went against someone who did not have a Dark Tidings deck, and they had the creature. Oh, is it in this one that I have too? No, it's not. They have this creature that is whenever the tide switches, you may use a friendly non-Star Alliance creature. So you can basically switch the tide to your side and then use one of your creatures that aren't Star Alliance. And if you have no Star Alliance in your deck, then you can use any creature on the battlefield, which is a really neat thing to do. So the universal tide switching effects that exist, I think, are going to be really fun to play with when you're using non-Dark Tidings decks, because you're going to get to do things that you normally wouldn't get to do with that deck. And that's why KeyForge is so great, because you get this experience with cards that only exist in the matchup you're currently facing. And I just think that is the bee's knees. It's so cool. What are my other thoughts? Well, Unfathomable, I'm really liking. I'm still feeling like that newborn baby sort of feel, like, you know, Bambi, the bow-legged deer walking, he doesn't quite have your feet yet in the grasp. So that's how I'm feeling with the set, which I love. It's really fun playing KeyForge and being in moments where you're like, I'm not entirely sure what I should be doing right now for the best move. And that always comes with a new set. And it's always so fun to experience that and have the growth. And especially those early decks you play as you move deeper into time of having with a set, getting to basically go back and relive some fun with some decks that you played, and realizing that your skill with the set has increased, so your skill with that deck will also increase. That's so much fun. So yeah, that's my first impressions with it. House-wise, I think all the houses are actually really good in this set. I haven't identified a house that I'm kind of like, oh, I don't really like this house that much. If anything, I would almost say Unfathomable might be the weakest in terms of like just the comments potentially, but I feel like I don't have enough experience to truly stand behind that statement. But so far, it feels the weakest so far. I'm loving the Untamed Burst. I'm loving the Shadow Burst that exists right now. Saurian actually might be a little bit on the weaker side too, but I feel like there's been a trend to Saurian going that route ever since Worlds Collide came out, swinging real hard. So I'm not entirely surprised by that. Yeah, but I'm loving Shadows. Shadows might be my favorite house in this set just because of the pirate theme in it. It's so good, and the stealing in it is really, really powerful and really fun to do. So there's that. And I'm going to be streaming tonight. Yeah, if you want to see these Dark Tiding decks in action, go to my YouTube, because I will be streaming on my YouTube tonight at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern, trying out the stream on YouTube instead of Twitch, because, hey, so many of you are here. I thought, let's make the accessibility a little easier and give it a shot. And there is another video that's out that you can check. I did 2 videos today, this KeyThoughts, plus I opened another Dark Tidings deck, and it looks like a fun one. So make sure you go check out that video too, and it will be played on stream tonight here on YouTube. And with that being said, let's move on to the card of the week. This week, I have chosen an Unfathomable card, and it is The Chosen One. I have 2 decks with this, but this was the very first iteration of it that I found within the first 2 decks I got to interact with. And The Chosen One, just to be clear in case you couldn't read that fast, it's a lot of text. It's a 9-power Aquan creature that says, instead of redding creatures they control during the ready card step. Your opponent deals 1 damage to the chosen one for each exhausted creature they control. So what the chosen one basically states is, until you kill chosen one, all your creatures are going to be exhausted. They enter play exhausted. If you use them already out there, they are exhausted. And until you kill this, you are basically being delayed on your use of your board in any state. That means like playing and anything like that. It's basically only actions are going to give you that immediate effect of dealing damage or gaining ember sort of thing. You won't be able to reap unless you had already readied creatures, in which case you may have to just take a turn fighting into the chosen one. So if it gets taunted, then you're really kind of having an awkward moment there. I think it's better earlier on in the game than late game, because the more of a board that's established, the easier it is to just be like, well, there's 5 creatures, so 5 creatures don't ready type of thing. It makes it a little bit more tricky. But I absolutely love this card. When I've seen it play, it really hampers your opponent's ability to move forward. So it is a real powerhouse for me, and it is a rare, and I do really like it. That is going to conclude this week's stuff. Please, I hope you come check out my stream on YouTube. I want to see if people prefer a stream on YouTube as opposed to a stream on Twitch. And I will be maybe doing a stream this weekend as well on Saturday morning. I'm still debating it, but with so much stuff I want to show and Dark Tidings being so cool, I think I may do that as well. And please don't forget to become a Patreon supporter and win some decks. I think next month I'm going to have to give away a Dark Tidings deck potentially as the giveaway. So make sure you get your Patreon supports in this month to be entered into next month, because next month will actually go down. I have already done the draw for this month's Patreon supporters, and the winner will be announced this weekend. The video was done actually literally right before Dark Tidings came out the day before. I had a bunch of videos that I had to actually put on hold for a bit and figure out how to space them out, because I know everyone wants to see Dark Tidings and I want to crack Dark Tidings, because I don't really get to crack these packs unless I'm doing a video. I made that dedication that the only way I will crack packs now is when I'm creating content, because when you just open packs and look at them, you can get caught up in just seeing what's there and not really giving them a chance. But when I limit myself to having to create a video, it gives me the incremental I guess processing of each deck and then playing it on stream and whatnot. So again, I'm committed to playing every deck I have. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Please, I hope you will support on Patreon. I really appreciate everyone thus far who has done it. Oh my goodness, I think I'm missing some people here for Patreon this week. Here they are on screen. You can see the new supporters, who I really appreciate them contributing. And as always, everyone, may your ember never be stolen and your keys forged promptly. Have a good one.